Ryan Hayes stood in his kitchen at 5:47 a.m., staring at the eviction notice taped to his fridge. 60 days. That's all he had left before his daughter lost the only home she'd ever known. His hands shook as he folded the paper and shoved it into his back pocket. Right as a sharp knock rattled his side window, he turned to see her, the woman from next door, the one who never spoke to anyone. She was standing at the fence in silk pajamas and bare feet, her face pale with panic, mouthing words he couldn't quite hear. "Help me, please." Ryan didn't know it yet, but crossing that fence would unravel everything he thought he understood about survival, pride, and what it meant to let someone in. If you want to see how far this story goes, hit that like button and drop a comment with your city. Let's see where this reaches. Ryan Hayes had been awake for 2 hours before the sun came up, and he was already exhausted. He sat at the cramped kitchen table of his rental house, a sagging 2-bedroom with peeling paint and a back door that didn't lock right, holding a mug of cold instant coffee. The eviction notice lay flat in front of him, creased down the middle where he'd folded it the night before. 60 days. He had 60 days to come up with 2 months' rent plus late fees, or he and Emma were out. Emma, 4 years old, still small enough to believe her dad could fix anything. She was asleep in the next room, curled up under a second-hand frozen blanket that was missing half its stitching. Ryan rubbed his eyes hard enough to see stars. He hadn't slept more than 4 hours in a week. The problem wasn't that he didn't work. He worked constantly. Warehouse shifts, weekend handyman gigs, anything that paid cash under the table. But it was never enough. Rent ate half his income. Daycare ate the other half. What was left went to diapers, groceries, gas for a truck that was one bad day away from dying in a parking lot. And now this. He folded the notice again and stuffed it back into his jeans pocket. No point staring at it. He'd figure something out. He always did. Ryan stood and stretched, his lower back protesting with a dull ache that had become permanent somewhere around age 30. He moved to the sink and rinsed his mug, looking out the window at the house next door. It was impossible not to notice. Where his place was all cracked siding and overgrown weeds, hers was clean lines and fresh paint, a modern build with wide windows, a landscaped yard, and one of those fancy Ring doorbells that probably cost more than his monthly grocery budget. He'd seen her a few times, always from a distance, dark hair pulled back, expensive-looking clothes. She drove a white sedan that looked like it had never seen a scratch. Rich, quiet. The kind of neighbor who didn't make eye contact at the mailbox. Ryan had lived next to her for 8 months and couldn't remember her ever saying a word to him. He turned away from the window and checked the time. 5:52 a.m. He had to leave for his shift in 30 minutes. Emma would wake up around 7, and Mrs. Cow from 2 houses down would come get her and take her to daycare on the way to her own job. It was a system. It worked. Barely. Ryan grabbed his work boots from beside the door and sat down to lace them up. His phone buzzed on the table. A text from his boss. "Can you cover a double today?" Travis called out. Ryan closed his eyes. A double meant 16 hours. It also meant an extra $120, cash. He could put that toward the rent. Maybe buy Emma new shoes. Hers were getting tight. He typed back, "Yeah, I'm in." The reply came instantly. "You're a lifesaver." Ryan set the phone down and finished tying his boots. Lifesaver. Right. He felt more like a guy treading water with cinder blocks tied to his ankles. He stood, grabbed his keys, and headed for the door. Then stopped. There was a knock, not on the front door. On the side window, the one that faced the neighbor's yard. Ryan frowned and stepped closer, pulling the curtain back. She was standing there, the woman from next door. Close enough now that he could actually see her face. She looked younger than he'd thought, late 20s maybe. Her dark hair was loose around her shoulders, still messy from sleep. She wore silk pajamas, pale blue, and no shoes. Her feet were bare on the dewy grass. And she looked terrified. Ryan's first instinct was to check if someone was chasing her. He scanned the yard behind her. Nothing. Just the fence, her pristine house in the background, and the early morning light starting to creep over the rooftops. He opened the window. "You okay?" She exhaled hard like she'd been holding her breath. "I'm sorry, I know it's early. She gestured helplessly toward her house. "My front door, it's stuck. I can't get it open." Ryan blinked. Your front door. I know how it sounds. She laughed, but it came out shaky. I tried everything. It won't budge. I think the lock mechanism jammed or something. I don't know. She stopped, looking embarrassed now. I didn't know who else to ask. Ryan glanced past her at the house again. From here, everything looked fine, normal, expensive. You try the back door? He asked. It's deadbolted from the inside. I locked it last night, and now I can't get out that way either. She wrapped her arms around herself, shivering slightly. I have a meeting in 2 hours. I can't just sit here. Ryan looked at her for a long moment. Something about this didn't add up. A door didn't just jam on a house that new. And why come to him? She had money. She could call a locksmith. Hell, she probably had some kind of concierge service on speed dial. But she was standing there in bare feet, looking at him like he was the only option she had. Ryan sighed. Let me grab my toolbox. Her face softened with relief. Thank you. Seriously, I'll pay you. Don't worry about it. He shut the window before she could argue and headed to the closet where he kept his tools. A small duffel bag with a screwdriver set, a hammer, some WD-40, and a pry bar. Not much, but enough to handle most problems. He slung the bag over his shoulder and stepped outside, locking the door behind him. She was waiting by the fence, still barefoot, arms crossed against the chill. I'm Ryan, by the way, he said as he approached. Lena. She gave him a small, tight smile. Lena Hart. Nice to meet you, Lena. He gestured toward her house. Lead the way. She nodded and turned, walking quickly across the wet grass. Ryan followed, his boots leaving prints in the dew. As they got closer, he took in more details. The house really was immaculate. No clutter, no bikes in the driveway or toys in the yard, just clean, empty space. Lonely, he thought, and didn't know why. They reached the front door. Lena stepped aside and pointed at the handle. I turned the deadbolt, but the whole thing just seized up. Ryan set his toolbox down and crouched in front of the lock. He tried the handle. It turned, but the door didn't move. He jiggled it. Nothing. Weird, he muttered. He pulled out his screwdriver and started removing the interior plate of the deadbolt. Lena stood a few feet back, watching him with her arms still wrapped tight around herself. You live here alone? Ryan asked, more to fill the silence than anything. Yeah. Big house for one person. I know. Her voice was quiet. It was supposed to be different. Ryan glanced up at her, but she wasn't looking at him anymore. She was staring at the door like it had personally betrayed her. He turned back to the lock. The mechanism looked fine. No rust, no obvious damage. He worked the bolt loose and tested the latch. It slid smoothly. Try it now, he said, stepping back. Lena moved forward and turned the handle. The door swung open without resistance. She stared at it, then at him. I swear it was stuck, she said. Ryan shrugged and started packing up his tools. Sometimes they just need a little persuasion. I feel like an idiot. Don't, happens all the time. He stood and zipped the bag shut. You're good now. Lena hesitated like she wanted to say something else, then she just nodded. Thank you, really, I owe you. You don't. He turned to leave, but she spoke again, softer this time. Do you want coffee? Ryan stopped. He looked back at her. She seemed as surprised by the offer as he was. I mean, if you have time, I just made a pot. It's the least I can do. He should say no. He had to get to work. Emma would be up soon. He didn't have time for coffee with a stranger, but something in the way she asked, like she was bracing for him to turn her down, made him pause. Yeah, he said. Sure, just a quick one. Her face brightened just a little. Okay, come in. Ryan followed her inside, and the first thing that hit him was how quiet it was. Not peaceful, just empty. The kind of quiet that made you aware of your own breathing. The furniture was modern and expensive looking, but there was no life to it, no pictures on the walls, no mess, no sign that anyone actually lived there. Lena led him to the kitchen, which was just as pristine. Marble countertops, stainless steel appliances, a coffee maker that looked like it belonged in a cafe. She poured 2 mugs and handed him one. Cream, sugar, black's fine. She nodded and leaned against the counter, holding her own mug with both hands. For a moment, neither of them said anything. "So," Ryan said finally, "what do you do?" "I work in finance, remote mostly." She took a sip. "Consulting, portfolio analysis, it's boring. Pays well, though." "Yeah." She looked down into her coffee. "It does." "You?" "Warehouse. And some handyman stuff on the side." "That's how you knew how to fix the door." "Yeah, spent a few years in construction before Emma was born. Picked up enough to get by." Lena tilted her head slightly. "Emma?" "My daughter. She's 4. I've seen her, playing in the yard sometimes." Lena's voice softened. "She's beautiful." "Thanks." Ryan smiled despite himself. "She's a good kid. Talks nonstop. Obsessed with dinosaurs right now, which is random as hell, but I'm rolling with it." Lena laughed. A real laugh this time, not the nervous one from earlier. "Dinosaurs are cool." That's what she says. They fell into silence again, but it felt less awkward now. Lena took another sip of her coffee and glanced at him. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Do you like it here? This neighborhood?" Ryan considered the question. "It's fine. Quiet. The rent's cheaper than most places. Emma's got a yard. That's all I really need." "But you're alone, raising her by yourself." It wasn't a question, but Ryan answered anyway. "Yeah, her mom's not in the picture." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. We're better off." Lena didn't push, which Ryan appreciated. Most people did. They wanted the story, the drama, the details. Lena just nodded and let it sit. "What about you?" Ryan asked. "You said the house was supposed to be different. What'd you mean?" Lena's expression shifted. She set her mug down and crossed her arms, staring at the counter. "I bought it with my fiancé 2 years ago. We were going to get married, start a family, all of it. But he changed his mind. About me. About us. He left 6 months before the wedding. Damn." "Yeah." She laughed bitterly. "Turns out he'd been seeing someone else for almost a year. I was the last to know. Classic, right?" Ryan didn't know what to say to that. "I'm sorry." "Everyone is." Lena looked up at him. "But nobody really means it. They just don't know what else to say." "I mean it." She studied his face for a moment, then nodded. "I believe you." They stood there in the quiet kitchen, two strangers who'd somehow stumbled into each other's loneliness. Ryan checked his phone. 6:23 a.m. "I should go. Shift starts soon." "Right, of course." Lena walked him to the door. "Thanks again, for the door." "No problem." He stepped outside and she lingered in the doorway, watching him go. "Ryan?" He turned back. "If you ever need anything," she said, "I'm right next door." He gave her a small nod. "Same to you." And then he left, walking back across the grass to his own house, wondering why the hell a woman like that would ever need anything from a guy like him. The next few days passed the way they always did. Work, Emma, bills, repeat. Ryan picked up the double shift and pocketed the extra cash. He paid part of the rent, enough to buy himself another week. Mrs. Cow watched Emma without complaint, though Ryan could tell she was getting tired of the constant favors. He'd have to figure something else out soon. Maybe look into subsidized daycare programs, though the waiting lists were always months long. He didn't see Lena again. Not at first, but on Thursday morning, there was another knock. This time, it was the back door. Ryan opened it to find her standing there with a covered dish in her hands. She wore jeans and a sweater this time, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked nervous. "Hey," she said. "Hey. I made too much lasagna last night. Thought you might want some." Ryan stared at the dish. It was still warm, wrapped in aluminum foil. He could smell the garlic and tomato sauce from where he stood. "You didn't have to do that." "I know, but I did." She held it out. "It's really good. My grandmother's recipe." "Well, sort of. I modified it a little, but the base is hers." Ryan took it, feeling the weight of it in his hands. Real food. Not ramen, not canned soup, not another rotation of mac and cheese that Emma was starting to get sick of. "Thank you," he said, and meant it. She smiled, just barely.
and turned to leave. Lena? She stopped and looked back.
You want to stay for dinner? I mean, if you don't have plans. Emma would probably like to meet you. She saw you through the window the other day and asked who the pretty lady was. Lena's cheeks flushed slightly. I don't want to intrude. You're not. Come by around 6? She hesitated, then nodded. Okay, yeah, I'll be there. That evening, Ryan set the table, such as it was. Mismatched plates, forks that didn't all belong to the same set, paper napkins because he'd run out of cloth ones weeks ago. Emma sat in her booster seat, swinging her legs and humming to herself. Is the pretty lady really coming? She asked for the third time. Yes, sweetheart. Her name is Lena. Lena, Emma repeated, testing the sound of it. I like that name. Me too. There was a knock at the door. Ryan wiped his hands on a dish towel and opened it. Lena stood on the porch holding a bottle of wine and looking more nervous than she had that morning. Hi, she said. Hi, come in. She stepped inside, glancing around the small living room. If she noticed the threadbare couch or the duct tape holding the corner of the rug together, she didn't say anything. Emma's face lit up when she saw her. You're Lena. Lena smiled, crouching down to Emma's level. I am, and you must be Emma. I'm 4. How old are you? Emma, Ryan said, a warning in his voice. But Lena just laughed. I'm 28. Is that old? Emma tilted her head, considering. My daddy's 32. That's really old. Thanks, kiddo, Ryan muttered. Lena stood, still smiling. I brought wine. I didn't know if you... Wine's great, thanks. He took the bottle and led her to the kitchen. Emma followed, chattering nonstop about her day, about the dinosaur book she'd gotten from the library, about how she'd learned to tie her own shoes but only on one foot so far. Lena listened to all of it, genuinely engaged, asking questions and nodding along. Ryan watched her while he reheated the lasagna, surprised by how natural she seemed with Emma, how patient. They sat down to eat, and for the first time in months, Ryan's kitchen didn't feel empty. Emma dominated the conversation, as usual. She told Lena about her favorite dinosaur, Brachiosaurus, because it had a long neck, her least favorite vegetable, broccoli, which she called tiny trees, and her best friend at daycare, a boy named Marcus who could count to 100. Lena listened to everything, nodding seriously when Emma explained the difference between herbivores and carnivores. You know a lot about dinosaurs, Lena said. My daddy got me a book. It has pictures. That sounds like a good book. It is. Do you want to see it? Emma, let Lena eat, Ryan said, but Lena shook her head. I'd love to see it. Emma scrambled down from her seat and ran to her room, returning moments later with a battered paperback held over her head like a trophy. She climbed into Lena's lap without asking, which made Ryan freeze. Emma didn't do that with strangers. Hell, she barely did it with family. But Lena didn't seem to mind. She wrapped an arm around Emma and opened the book, letting Emma point at each picture and explain what she was looking at. Ryan watched them, something warm and unfamiliar settling in his chest. After dinner, Emma insisted on showing Lena her room, which was really just a corner of the living room sectioned off with a curtain. Lena admired the collection of stuffed animals, the drawing Emma had taped to the wall, the plastic dinosaur figures lined up on the windowsill. You have a very cool room, Lena said. Thank you. Emma beamed, then she looked up at Lena with wide, serious eyes. Are you my daddy's friend? Lena glanced at Ryan, who was standing in the doorway. I hope so. Good. He doesn't have very many. Emma, Ryan said, embarrassed, but Lena just smiled. Well, he has me now. Emma hugged her, quick and fierce, then ran off to play with her dinosaurs. Lena stood, brushing off her jeans. She looked at Ryan, and for a moment neither of them said anything. She's amazing, Lena said quietly. Yeah, she is. You're doing a good job. With her. Ryan's throat tightened. He wasn't used to hearing that. Thanks. They moved back to the kitchen, and Ryan poured them each a glass of wine. They sat at the table, the sounds of Emma's play acting drifting in from the other room. Can I ask you something? Lena said. Sure. Why did you invite me to stay? You didn't have to. Ryan thought about it. I don't know. I guess you seemed lonely, and I know what that feels like. Lena looked down at her wine. I am. Lonely, I mean. I've been here 2 years and I don't know anyone. I work from home. I don't go out much. I just exist. That sounds exhausting. It is. She took a sip. I keep thinking it'll get easier, that I'll wake up one day and feel normal again, but it hasn't happened yet. Ryan nodded. He understood that. The waiting for things to get better, the grinding through each day hoping the next one would be different.
For what it's worth, he said, I'm glad you knocked on my window. Lena looked up at him, surprised. Yeah? Yeah. She smiled, a real one this time. Me too. They talked for another hour. About work, about Emma, about nothing in particular. It was easy, comfortable, the kind of conversation Ryan hadn't had in years. When Lena finally left, Emma was already asleep on the couch, curled up with her favorite stuffed triceratops. Ryan walked Lena to the door. Thanks for coming, he said. Thanks for inviting me. She paused on the porch. Can I ask you something else? Go ahead. Do you ever let people help you? Ryan frowned. What do you mean? I mean, you helped me with the door. You let me bring dinner, but you don't ask for anything, even when you need it. I'm fine. Are you? Ryan didn't answer. Lena looked at him for a long moment. If you ever change your mind, I'm right next door. And then she left, disappearing into the darkness between their houses. Ryan stood on the porch, watching her go, and wondered why it felt like she'd just seen straight through him. The next 2 weeks fell into a rhythm. Lena kept finding reasons to come over. A recipe she wanted to try. A question about the neighborhood. A book she thought Emma might like. And Ryan kept letting her. It wasn't charity, he told himself. It was just neighbors being neighborly. That was all. But Emma started calling her Miss Lena and asking when she was coming back. And Ryan started noticing things, like how Lena always showed up on the days when he looked the most tired. How she always brought just enough food for 3. How she never made him feel like he owed her anything. One Saturday afternoon, Lena knocked on the door with a toolbox in her hand. Ryan answered, surprised. What's that for? Your porch. The railing's loose. I noticed it last time I was here. I can fix it. I know, but I want to help. She held up the toolbox. I'm not completely useless with a hammer. Ryan hesitated, then stepped aside. All right, let's do it. They worked side by side in the afternoon sun, Emma playing in the grass nearby. Lena wasn't great with tools, but she tried. She held the boards steady while Ryan nailed them down, and she didn't complain when she smashed her thumb with the hammer. You okay? Ryan asked. Fine. Just wounded pride. He smiled. You're doing good. Liar. But she smiled too. When they finished, the porch looked better than it had in months. Ryan stepped back, wiping the sweat from his forehead. Not bad, he said. We make a good team. Ryan glanced at her. She was looking at the porch, but there was something in her voice that made him think she wasn't just talking about carpentry. Emma ran up, grass stains on her knees. Miss Lena, do you want to see my dinosaur show? Absolutely. Emma grabbed her hand and dragged her inside. Ryan followed, watching as Lena sat cross-legged on the floor, while Emma performed an elaborate puppet show with her plastic dinosaurs. Lena clapped at all the right moments, gasped when the T-Rex appeared, and cheered when the Brachiosaurus saved the day. Ryan leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, and felt something shift inside him. This was what he'd been missing. Not money, not security, just this. Good. But the bubble couldn't last forever. On a Tuesday afternoon, Ryan came home from work to find an envelope taped to his door. No return address, just his name, handwritten in neat script. Inside was $500 in cash, and a note for Emma's shoes, and whatever else you need. L. Ryan's hands shook as he read it. His first instinct was anger, white-hot and immediate. She'd been watching him, listening, she knew. He crumpled the note and shoved the cash back into the envelope, storming across the yard to her house. He didn't care that his boots were muddy. He didn't care that his shirt was still damp with sweat from the warehouse. He pounded on the door. Lena opened it, and the look on her face told him she'd been expecting this. What the hell is this? Ryan held up the envelope. Her voice was calm, too calm. I just wanted to help. I didn't ask for your help. I know. So why? Lena stepped out onto the porch, closing the door behind her. She crossed her arms, meeting his eyes. Because you need it, and because I can. Ryan felt something crack inside him. You think I need your charity? You think I can't take care of my own kid? That's not what I don't need saving, Lena. Her eyes flashed. I never said you did. Then what the hell is this? He shook the envelope at her. You think throwing money at me makes us friends? You think I'm some project you can fix? No. Her voice was steady, but there was hurt underneath it. I think you're struggling, and I think you're too proud to admit it. You don't know anything about me. I know more than you think. She took a step closer. I know you work double shifts. I know you can barely afford rent. I know Emma's shoes don't fit and you're pretending they do because you can't afford new ones yet. I know you haven't bought groceries in a week because you're waiting for your next paycheck. And I know you lie awake at night wondering how you're going to make it through another month. Ryan stared at her, chest heaving. How? Because I pay attention, Ryan. Because I care. Well, don't. His voice was harsh. I don't need you caring about me. I don't need you watching me, and I sure as hell don't need your money. He dropped the envelope at her feet and turned to walk away. You're right, Lena called after him. He stopped. You don't need saving, she said. But maybe I do. Ryan turned back slowly. Lena's arms were still crossed, but her shoulders had sagged. She looked smaller suddenly, tired. You think this is about you? She said quietly. You think I'm doing this because I pity you? Aren't you? No. She shook her head. I'm doing this because for the first time in 2 years, I don't feel completely alone. Because Emma looks at me like I matter. Because when I'm at your house eating terrible reheated lasagna and listening to dinosaur facts, I feel like a person again instead of just empty space. Her voice cracked on the last words. Ryan felt the anger drain out of him, replaced by something heavier. I wasn't trying to insult you, Lena said. I was trying to help. Because that's what people do when they care about each other. And I know we barely know each other, but I care about you, both of you. Ryan looked down at the envelope on the ground, then back at her. I can't take your money, he said. I know. And I can't let you keep doing this, bringing food, fixing my house, all of it. Why not? Because I can't pay you back. Lena stepped closer, her eyes locked on his. I don't want you to pay me back, Ryan. I want you to let me in. They stood there in the fading light, the space between them charged with everything they weren't saying. Ryan's voice came out rough. I don't know how to do that. Neither do I, Lena admitted. But maybe we can figure it out together. Ryan looked at her, really looked at her, and saw the same loneliness he felt every day reflected back at him. The same fear, the same desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, things could be different. He picked up the envelope and held it out to her. I can't. Lena took it, but she didn't look away. Okay. But, Ryan hesitated. If you want to come over for dinner tomorrow, Emma would like that. Just Emma? No. He met her eyes. Not just Emma. Lena's expression softened. Okay. Ryan nodded and turned to leave. He made it halfway across the yard before she called out again. Ryan? He looked back. I'm sorry for overstepping. I'm sorry, too, for yelling. We're a mess, aren't we? Ryan almost smiled. Yeah, we are. But as he walked back to his house, the eviction notice still folded in his pocket and Emma waiting inside, Ryan realized something. He didn't feel quite as alone as he had that morning. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough for now. That night, after Emma was asleep, Ryan sat on the porch in the dark. He could see Lena's house from here. The lights were on in the kitchen. He wondered what she was doing, if she was as confused as he was, if she regretted the whole thing. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. It's Lena. I got your number from the neighborhood directory. I hope that's not weird. Ryan stared at the screen. It's not weird, he typed back. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. I meant what I said, about caring. Ryan's thumb hovered over the keyboard. He didn't know what to say, didn't know how to explain that he was terrified of needing someone,
of letting someone close enough to see how badly he was failing, but Lena had already seen it, and she hadn't run. "I know," he finally typed. "Me too." The three dots appeared again. "Good night, Ryan." "Good night." He set the phone down and looked back at her house. The kitchen light went off. Ryan sat there for a long time, listening to the night sounds, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on him. But for the first time in months, he didn't feel like he was carrying it alone. And when he finally went inside and lay down in his bed, the eviction notice still in his pocket and the bills still piling up on the counter, Ryan fell asleep faster than he had in weeks. Because tomorrow, Lena was coming over for dinner, and maybe that didn't solve anything. But it was something, and right now something was more than he'd had in a long time. Lena showed up the next evening at 6:15, 15 minutes late, holding a bag of groceries and looking apologetic. "I know you said just come for dinner, but I couldn't help myself," she said when Ryan opened the door. "I brought stuff for dessert, if that's okay." Emma appeared behind Ryan's legs, peeking out. "What kind of dessert?" "Brownies, the kind with the gooey middle." Emma's eyes went wide. "Can we make them now?" "After dinner," Ryan said, stepping aside to let Lena in. "Come on." Lena followed them inside, setting the bag on the counter. She pulled out a box of brownie mix, chocolate chips, and a container of vanilla ice cream that was already starting to soften. "I should have gotten a cooler bag," she muttered. "It's fine, we'll put it in the freezer." Ryan took the ice cream and shoved it into the cramped freezer compartment, wedging it between a bag of frozen peas and some frost-covered chicken breasts he'd been meaning to cook for a week. Emma climbed onto a chair and peered into the grocery bag. "What else did you bring?" "Just the brownies, and some sprinkles, because everything's better with sprinkles." "I like sprinkles." "Me too." Ryan watched them, something tight loosening in his chest. Last night felt like a lifetime ago. The fight, the money, the raw honesty that had left both of them standing on Lena's porch looking wrecked. He'd expected things to be awkward today, strained, but Lena was smiling at Emma like nothing had happened, and Emma was chattering about her day like Lena had always been part of it. Maybe that was the thing about kids. They didn't carry grudges. They just moved forward. Ryan wished he knew how to do that. Dinner was simple. Spaghetti with jarred sauce, garlic bread from the freezer section, and a bagged salad that Emma refused to touch. They ate at the small table, elbows bumping, Emma dominating the conversation with a story about a boy at daycare who'd eaten a crayon on a dare. "Was it a good crayon?" Lena asked, completely serious. Emma nodded. "Blue. He said it tasted like blueberries, but I don't think that's true." "Probably not," Ryan agreed. "I would never eat a crayon," Emma declared. "That's silly." "Very silly," Lena said. After dinner, they made the brownies together. Emma stood on a chair at the counter, carefully pouring the brownie mix into a bowl while Lena cracked the eggs. Ryan leaned against the fridge, watching them work, not saying much. Lena glanced at him. "You're quiet." "Just tired." "Long shift?" "Yeah, 10 hours today." "You work tomorrow?" 8 to 4. Then I've got a side job at 6, fixing a deck for a guy 2 blocks over." Lena frowned, but didn't say anything. She turned back to the brownies, stirring the batter while Emma dumped in the chocolate chips. "Can I lick the spoon?" Emma asked. "After we put it in the oven," Ryan said. "But that's forever." "It's 25 minutes." Emma groaned dramatically and slumped over the counter. Lena laughed and ruffled her hair. They slid the pan into the oven, and Emma immediately ran off to play with her dinosaurs. Ryan started washing the dishes, and Lena picked up a towel to dry. "You don't have to do that," Ryan said. "I know." They worked in silence for a minute, the only sound the running water and the clatter of plates. "Ryan?" "Yeah?" Lena set down the dish she was drying and looked at him. "Can we talk about yesterday?" Ryan's hand stilled in the soapy water. "I thought we already did." "We did, but I don't think we finished." He pulled his hands out of the sink and dried them on his jeans. "What else is there to say?" "I don't know. She hesitated. "I don't want things to be weird between us." "They're not." "Ryan." He looked at her. She was standing there with the dish towel in her hands, her expression open and a little uncertain, and he realized she was just as scared as he was. "Okay," he said quietly. "Maybe they are. A little. I'm sorry. For the money. I shouldn't have done it like that. I shouldn't have yelled at you. You had a right to be mad." "Maybe." But I didn't have to be an asshole about it. Lena almost smiled. You weren't an asshole. You were just honest. Same thing sometimes. She shook her head. No, it's not. Ryan leaned back against the counter, arms crossed. I don't know how to do this, Lena. Do what? Let people in. I've been on my own for a long time, me and Emma. That's it, and it works. Most of the time. But not all the time. No. He looked away. Not all the time. Lena stepped closer, her voice soft. You don't have to do everything alone, you know. I know, but I don't know how to ask for help, and I don't know how to accept it without feeling like I'm failing. You're not failing. It feels like I am. Lena reached out and touched his arm just lightly. You're keeping a roof over Emma's head. You're feeding her, loving her, showing up for her every single day. That's not failing, Ryan. That's the opposite of failing. Ryan looked down at her hand on his arm. Her fingers were small and warm, and he had the sudden ridiculous urge to hold on to them and not let go. Instead, he just nodded. Thanks. I mean it. I know. The oven timer beeped, breaking the moment. Lena pulled her hand back and grabbed the oven mitts, pulling out the brownies. They were perfect. Crispy on the edges, gooey in the middle, just like she'd promised. Emma came running. Are they done? Are they done? They need to cool first, Lena said. How long is that? 10 minutes. Emma groaned again, but this time she was smiling. They ate the brownies warm, topped with melting ice cream, and Emma got chocolate all over her face. Lena wiped it off with a napkin, laughing when Emma squirmed away. You're worse than a puppy, Lena said. I'm not a puppy. I'm a dinosaur. Oh, excuse me, you're worse than a dinosaur. Emma giggled and took another huge bite of brownie. Ryan watched them, and for a moment he let himself imagine what it would be like if this were permanent. If Lena were always here. If Emma always had someone else to laugh with, someone who looked at her like she hung the moon. If he always had someone who looked at him like he wasn't just barely holding it together. But that thought was dangerous. Because Lena wasn't permanent. She was a neighbor, a friend maybe. But that was all. Wasn't it? After Emma went to bed, Ryan and Lena sat on the porch with the last of the wine from the bottle she'd brought the week before. The night was cool, the kind of quiet that only came after dark in suburban neighborhoods. Lena pulled her knees up to her chest, wrapping her arms around them. Can I ask you something? Go ahead. What happened with Emma's mom? Ryan took a long drink of wine. He'd known the question was coming eventually. People always asked, and he always gave the same vague answer. But Lena wasn't people. We weren't together long, he said finally. A few months, maybe. It wasn't serious, at least I didn't think it was. Then she told me she was pregnant, and everything changed. Did you want to keep the baby? Oh, yeah, immediately. I didn't even have to think about it. He stared out at the dark yard. She didn't. She wanted to, end it. And I told her I'd support whatever she decided because it was her choice. But I also told her that if she had the baby, I'd take care of it. Full custody. She wouldn't have to do anything. And she agreed? Eventually, she was 8 months along when she finally said she'd go through with it. But she made it clear she didn't want to be a mom. She didn't want anything to do with us after Emma was born. Lena was quiet for a moment. That must have been hard. It was terrifying. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was working construction, living in a studio apartment, barely making rent. But then Emma came, and he trailed off, shaking his head. I don't know. It sounds stupid, but everything just clicked. Like, suddenly I had a reason for all of it. The long shifts, the shitty apartment, all of it. It was for her. That's not stupid. Her mom left the hospital the day after Emma was born. I haven't seen her since. Does she pay child support? Ryan laughed bitterly. No. She signed away her parental rights. No support, no custody, no contact. It's just me. I'm sorry. Don't be. We're better off without her. He looked at Lena. Emma doesn't even ask about her anymore. She used to when she was littler. But now it's just normal. It's always been just us. Lena nodded slowly. She's lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have her. They sat in silence for a while, sipping their wine and listening to the distant sound of traffic on the highway. What about you? Ryan asked. Your ex. The guy who left. Lena's jaw tightened. What about him?
Do you still talk to him? No, I blocked his number 6 months ago. Good. She glanced at him, surprised. Good? Yeah. Guy sounds like a dick. Lena laughed, a real one. He was. Is. I don't know. She set her wine glass down. I wasted 3 years on him, planning a future that he never actually wanted. And the worst part is, I didn't even see it coming. Everyone else did. My friends, my family, they all told me something was off. But I was so convinced that we were fine, that we were happy. Were you happy? Lena thought about it. I thought I was. But looking back, I think I was just comfortable and scared of starting over. And now? Now I'm starting over anyway, whether I want to or not. Ryan nodded. He understood that. The house was supposed to be ours, Lena continued. We picked it out together, signed the mortgage together, and then he left. And I was stuck with this huge empty place that I can barely afford on my own. But I couldn't bring myself to sell it, because that would mean admitting that I failed, that I chose wrong. You didn't fail. It feels like I did. He's the one who left. That's on him, not you. Lena looked at him, her eyes shining slightly in the dim light. You really believe that? Yeah, I do. She smiled, small and sad. Thanks. They finished their wine in silence, and when Lena finally stood to leave, Ryan walked her to the edge of the yard. Thanks for coming, he said. Thanks for letting me. She hesitated, like she wanted to say something else. Then she just nodded and turned to go. Lena? She stopped.
I'm glad you're here. Next door, I mean. I'm glad we met. Her smile widened. Me too. And then she was gone, disappearing into the darkness between their houses. Ryan stood there for a while, hands in his pockets, staring at the fence. He was in trouble. He knew it. Because somewhere in the last few weeks, Lena had stopped being just the neighbor. She'd become something more, and that terrified him. The next few weeks blurred together in a strange, fragile routine. Lena came over 3 or 4 times a week. Sometimes she brought food. Sometimes she just showed up to help Emma with a puzzle or read her a story. Sometimes she and Ryan sat on the porch after Emma went to bed and talked about nothing in particular. It was easy. Too easy. And Ryan kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. It finally did on a Friday afternoon. Ryan was at work when his phone rang. Mrs. Cow's number. He answered immediately. Everything okay? Ryan, I'm so sorry. Mrs. Cow's voice was strained. I can't pick up Emma today. My daughter's in the hospital. I have to go. Ryan's stomach dropped. Is she okay? I don't know yet, but I have to leave now. Of course, go. Don't worry about Emma. I'll figure it out. He hung up and checked the time. 2:47 p.m. daycare closed at 3:30, and he was an hour away. Even if he left now, he wouldn't make it in time, and his boss would never let him leave early on a Friday. They were already short-staffed. Ryan stood in the warehouse aisle, his mind racing. He had no one to call, no family nearby, no friends who weren't also working. He scrolled through his contacts, desperate, and stopped on one name, Lena. His thumb hovered over her name. He couldn't. Could he? She'd said she worked from home. She'd said if he ever needed anything, she was there. But this felt like too much, like crossing a line he couldn't uncross. His phone buzzed, a text from the daycare. Hi, Mr. Hayes. Just a reminder that pickup is at 3:30. Please let us know if you'll be late. Ryan closed his eyes and pressed call. Lena answered on the second ring. Hey, I need a favor. What's going on? Mrs. Cow can't pick up Emma today, and I'm stuck at work. I won't make it in time. There was a pause. Then, where's the daycare? 15 minutes from the house. I can text you the address. Okay, I'll go. Ryan exhaled hard. Are you sure? Yeah, of course. Do they need ID or anything? I'll call them and let them know you're coming. Just tell them you're a family friend. Got it. I'm leaving now. Lena. Ryan, it's fine. I've got her. He heard the sound of keys jingling, a door closing. Thank you, he said, and meant it more than he'd ever meant anything. You're welcome. I'll text you when I have her. She hung up. Ryan stood there in the middle of the warehouse, his phone still pressed to his ear, and felt something inside him shift. He'd asked for help, and she'd said yes, without hesitation, without judgment, just yes. 40 minutes later, his phone buzzed. A text from Lena. A photo. Emma in the back seat of Lena's car, grinning and holding up a juice box. The caption read, "Mission accomplished. We're going to get ice cream. See you at home." Ryan stared at the photo for a long time. Then he saved it. When he got home that night, exhausted and covered in dust from the warehouse, he found Emma and Lena in the living room. Emma was sprawled on the floor with her coloring books, and Lena was sitting on the couch with her laptop open. "Daddy!" Emma jumped up and ran to him. "Miss Lena picked me up, and we got ice cream, and I got chocolate chip, and it was so good." Ryan scooped her up, hugging her tight. "That sounds awesome, kiddo." He looked at Lena over Emma's head. She closed her laptop and stood. "Thank you," he said. "Anytime." "I mean it. You saved me today." Lena smiled. "You'd do the same for me." Would he? Yeah, he would. Emma wriggled out of his arms and ran back to her coloring. Ryan walked Lena to the door. "How much do I owe you?" he asked. "For the ice cream." "Nothing." "Lena, Ryan, it was $3. Let it go." He wanted to argue, but he was too tired, and she was looking at him with that expression that said she wasn't going to budge. "Okay," he said, "but next time I'm buying." "Deal." She stepped out onto the porch, then turned back. "Hey, you okay?" "Yeah." "Why?" "You look exhausted." "I am." "When's the last time you had a full night's sleep?" Ryan couldn't remember. "A while." Lena frowned. "You need to take care of yourself, too." "I'm fine." "Ryan," he sighed. "I know, I will." She didn't look convinced, but she didn't push. "Okay, get some rest." "I will. Thanks again." "Stop thanking me." He almost smiled. "Okay." She left, and Ryan closed the door, leaning against it for a moment. Emma appeared beside him. "Daddy?" "Yeah, sweetheart? I really like Miss Lena." "Me too." "Is she going to stay?" Ryan looked down at his daughter. "What do you mean? Is she going to keep coming over, or is she going to leave like Mommy did?" Ryan's chest tightened. He crouched down to Emma's level. "Miss Lena's not going anywhere, okay? She's our friend." "Promise?" He hesitated, because he couldn't promise that. He didn't know what Lena wanted. He didn't know if this was temporary or something more. But Emma was looking at him with those big, trusting eyes, and he couldn't say no. "Yeah, baby, I promise." Emma hugged him, and Ryan held her close, hoping like hell he hadn't just lied to his daughter. The following week, Ryan's landlord called. "Hayes, we need to talk." Ryan's stomach sank. "About what?" "About the rent. You're still 2 months behind." "I know, I'm working on it." "You've been saying that for 6 weeks." "I just need a little more time." "I've given you time. I need the money, or I need you out." Ryan gripped the phone tighter. "How much time do I have?" 2 weeks. You get me the full amount in 2 weeks, or I'm filing for eviction." The line went dead. Ryan stood there in the parking lot of the warehouse, the sun beating down on him, and felt everything start to crumble. 2 weeks. He had 2 weeks to come up with almost $3,000. It was impossible. He got in his truck and drove home on autopilot, his mind spinning. He could pick up more shifts. He could take on more side jobs. He could sell the truck, though he had no idea how he'd get to work without it. He could ask Lena. The thought hit him like a punch to the gut. No, he couldn't do that. He wouldn't. But by the time he pulled into the driveway, the idea had taken root. Lena had money. She'd already offered once. And she cared about Emma. She'd said so herself. Ryan sat in the truck, hands on the steering wheel, and hated himself for even considering it. He didn't ask that night. Or the next. But 3 days later, when Lena came over for dinner and Emma fell asleep on the couch between them, Ryan finally broke. "I need to tell you something," he said. Lena looked at him, concern flickering in her eyes. "What's wrong?" "I'm getting evicted." The words came out flat, matter of fact. Lena's expression didn't change. "When?" 2 weeks. "Unless I come up with $3,000. Can you?" "No." Silence. Lena looked down at Emma, sleeping peacefully with her head on Ryan's lap, then back at him. "Let me help." "No." "Ryan."
I said no. Why not? Because I can't keep taking from you. You're not taking. I'm offering. Ryan's voice was tight. It's the same thing. It's not. Lena, please, don't make this harder than it already is. She stood, crossing her arms. So what are you going to do? Just let them kick you out? Let Emma lose her home? I'll figure something out. How? I don't know. His voice came out louder than he intended. Emma stirred and he forced himself to breathe. I don't know, he said again, quieter. But I will. Lena stared at him for a long moment. Then she grabbed her bag and headed for the door. Where are you going? Ryan asked. She turned back, her eyes blazing. I'm going home, because apparently you'd rather lose everything than admit you need help. That's not fair. Isn't it? She shook her head. You know what your problem is, Ryan? You're so terrified of being weak that you can't see when someone actually cares about you. You push away the people who want to help because you think needing anyone makes you a failure. But you're wrong. The only failure here is refusing to let anyone in. Ryan stood, carefully moving Emma so she stayed asleep on the couch. You don't understand. Then explain it to me. I can't. Why not? Because if I let you help me and you leave... He stopped, the words catching in his throat. I can't do that to Emma. I can't let her get attached to you and then have you disappear when this gets too hard. Lena's expression softened. Is that what you think? That I'm going to leave? Everyone does. I'm not everyone. How do I know that? You don't. She stepped closer. You just have to trust me. Ryan looked at her, standing there in his living room, looking at him like he mattered, and he wanted so badly to believe her. But trust was a luxury he couldn't afford. I can't, he said quietly. Lena's face fell. She nodded once, then turned and walked out. The door closed softly behind her. Ryan stood there in the silence, Emma asleep on the couch, and wondered if he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life. He didn't hear from Lena for 3 days. No texts, no knocks on the door, no surprise visits with food or books for Emma. Just silence. Emma asked about her every day. Where's Miss Lena? She's busy, sweetheart. Is she coming back? I don't know. On the 4th day, Ryan came home from work to find an envelope taped to his door. His heart sank. Not again. But when he opened it, there was no money inside, just a note. I'm not leaving, but I'm not going to beg you to let me help either. When you're ready to stop pushing me away, I'll be right next door. L. Ryan read it 3 times. Then he folded it carefully and put it in his pocket, next to the eviction notice he still hadn't figured out how to fix. That night, he lay awake staring at the ceiling, and for the first time in years, Ryan Hayes let himself cry. Because he was tired. Tired of fighting alone. Tired of pretending he had it all together. Tired of being strong. And somewhere across the fence, in a big empty house, was someone who'd looked at his broken life and decided it was worth staying for. He just had to be brave enough to let her. Ryan lasted 2 more days before he broke. It was Emma who did it. Not intentionally. She didn't know she was the final push. She just came home from daycare on Tuesday afternoon, dragging her backpack behind her, and said, Daddy, I made Miss Lena a picture. Can we give it to her? Ryan was standing at the stove, stirring a pot of soup that was mostly broth and canned vegetables. He looked down at Emma, at the crumpled piece of construction paper in her hand covered in marker scribbles that vaguely resembled a person with dark hair. That's really nice, sweetheart. So can we? Ryan turned off the stove. He crouched down to Emma's level. I don't know if Miss Lena wants to see us right now. Why not? Because Daddy made a mistake. Emma frowned. What kind of mistake? I said something that hurt her feelings. Did you say sorry? Not yet. You should say sorry. That's what you tell me to do when I'm mean to Marcus. Ryan almost smiled, out of the mouths of children. You're right. I should. Can we go now? He looked at the drawing in her hand, at her hopeful face, and felt the last of his resistance crumble. Yeah, okay, let's go. Emma cheered and grabbed his hand, pulling him toward the door. Ryan grabbed his keys and followed her out into the fading evening light. They crossed the yard together, Emma skipping ahead, Ryan's heart hammering in his chest. He knocked on Lena's door. Nothing. He knocked again. Still nothing.
Emma looked up at him. Maybe she's not home. Maybe. But then he heard footsteps. The door opened, and Lena stood there in leggings and an oversized sweater, her hair pulled into a messy bun. She looked tired. Her eyes were a little red, like maybe she'd been crying, though she'd never admit it. "Hi," Ryan said. Lena's gaze flicked from him to Emma, and her expression softened immediately. "Hi, Emma." "I made you a picture." Emma thrust the paper forward. Lena took it, studying it carefully. "Is this me?" "Yeah, see, that's your hair, and that's your smile, and those are stars because you're nice." Lena's eyes shimmered. "This is the most beautiful picture anyone's ever given me." "Really?" "Really." She looked at Ryan. "Thank you." Emma beamed. Then she turned to Ryan. "Daddy has something to say too." Ryan shot her a look, but Emma just stared back at him, waiting. Lena raised an eyebrow. "Does he?" Ryan shoved his hands in his pockets. "Yeah, I do." Lena crossed her arms, leaning against the doorframe. "I'm listening." "Can we come in?" She hesitated, then stepped aside. "Okay." They followed her into the living room. Emma immediately spotted a stack of books on the coffee table and started flipping through them. Lena and Ryan stood facing each other, the space between them charged with everything unsaid. "I'm sorry," Ryan said. Lena didn't respond. "I was wrong. About pushing you away. About all of it." He took a breath. "You were right. I'm terrified. Not just of needing help. I'm terrified of needing you." Lena's arms loosened slightly. "Why?" "Because everyone I've ever needed has left. My parents, Emma's mom, every friend I had before she was born. I learned a long time ago that the only person I could count on was myself. And then you showed up, and you kept showing up, and I didn't know what to do with that. So you pushed me away." "Yeah. That's a terrible strategy." "I know." Lena looked at him for a long moment. Then she sighed and sat down on the couch. "Come here." Ryan sat beside her, keeping a careful distance. Emma was still absorbed in the books, humming to herself. "I'm not going to lie to you," Lena said quietly. "That hurt. When you basically told me you didn't trust me not to abandon Emma, that hurt like hell." "I know, I'm sorry. But I also get it. I do. Because I've been left too." She looked down at her hands. "And I've spent the last 2 years convincing myself that I'm better off alone, that needing someone is just setting yourself up to get destroyed. So when you pushed me away, part of me wanted to just let you, to prove to myself that I was right, that people always leave. But you didn't." "No. Because I'm tired, Ryan. I'm so tired of being alone, and I don't want to be alone anymore. Not if I don't have to be." Ryan felt something crack open in his chest. "Me neither." Lena turned to look at him. "So what do we do?" "I don't know, but I'm willing to figure it out if you are." She smiled, small and tentative. "Yeah. Okay." Emma looked up from her book. "Are you guys done being sad now?" Ryan laughed despite himself. "Yeah, kiddo, we're done." "Good. Can we have dinner here? Miss Lena's house smells better than ours." "Emma." But Lena was already laughing. "Sure, I'll order pizza." They stayed for dinner, and for the first time in days, Ryan felt like he could breathe again. After Emma fell asleep on Lena's couch, because of course she did, Ryan carried her home and tucked her into bed. When he came back outside, Lena was sitting on her porch steps, wrapped in a blanket. Ryan sat down beside her. "She's out cold," he said. "She had a big day." "Yeah." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, listening to the night sounds. Then Lena spoke. "What are you going to do about the eviction?" Ryan exhaled slowly. "I don't know yet. I've been picking up every shift I can. I've got a couple side jobs lined up, but it's not enough, not in 2 weeks. Let me help." "Lena, I know. You don't want to take my money, I get it. But what if it's not a gift? What if it's a loan?" Ryan looked at her. "A loan?" "Yeah, I lend you the money. You pay me back whenever you can. No interest, no timeline. Just let me do this." "Why?" "Because I can, and because you need it, and because—" She stopped, looking away. "Because I care about you, both of you, And I can't just sit here and watch you lose your home when I have the means to help. Ryan felt his throat tighten. I don't know if I can pay you back. I don't care. Lena, Ryan, listen to me. I have money sitting in my savings account doing nothing. My ex left me the house and a settlement that I'll never be able to spend. I don't need it. But you do. So please, just let me do this. Ryan looked down at his hands. Every instinct he had was screaming at him to say no, to figure it out on his own, to not owe anyone anything. But then he thought about Emma, about her losing the only home she'd ever known, about having to uproot her, move her to some shitty apartment on the other side of town, take her away from the yard where she played and the daycare where her friends were. He thought about what Emma had said earlier. You should say sorry. That's what you tell me to do when I'm mean to Marcus. And he thought about what Lena had just said. I don't want to be alone anymore. Neither did he. Okay, he said quietly. Lena's head snapped toward him. Okay? Yeah, okay, I'll take the loan. She exhaled, relief flooding her face. Really? Really? But I'm paying you back. Every cent, even if it takes years. Deal. Ryan looked at her, at the way she was smiling at him, and felt something shift. Something big and terrifying and impossibly fragile. Thank you, he said. You're welcome. They sat there for a while longer, shoulders almost touching, and Ryan let himself imagine, just for a moment, what it might be like to stop fighting this. To let Lena in completely. To build something real. It was the scariest thing he'd ever considered, but for the first time in a long time, it also felt possible. The next day, Lena transferred the money. Ryan paid his landlord that afternoon, and the eviction notice disappeared. Emma didn't know how close they'd come to losing everything, and Ryan was grateful for that. But he knew. And so did Lena. And somehow, that changed everything. Over the next 2 weeks, something shifted between them. It was subtle at first. Lena started coming over more often, but now it felt less like neighborly charity and more like she belonged there. She helped Emma with her homework. She taught her how to make chocolate chip cookies from scratch. She sat on the porch with Ryan after Emma went to bed, and they talked about everything and nothing. And Ryan stopped fighting it. He still didn't know what this was. If they were friends, or something more, or just two broken people clinging to each other because they were too tired to be alone. But whatever it was, it felt right. One Saturday afternoon, Lena showed up with a toolbox and announced she was fixing the loose board on Ryan's back steps. You don't have to do that, Ryan said. I know, but I want to. You're going to hurt yourself. I'm tougher than I look. She wasn't. 20 minutes later, she'd smashed her thumb with the hammer for the third time and was cursing under her breath while Ryan tried not to laugh. This is harder than it looks, she muttered. You think? Shut up. Ryan took the hammer from her. Here, let me show you. He demonstrated the proper grip, the angle, the way to swing without putting all your force into it. Lena watched, then tried again. This time, she got it right. There you go, Ryan said. I did it. You did. She grinned at him, and Ryan felt something warm bloom in his chest. Emma came running out, holding a juice box. Can I help? Sure, kiddo. You can hand us the nails. They worked together in the afternoon sun, the three of them, and Ryan couldn't remember the last time something had felt this easy, this normal. When they finished, Lena stood back and admired their work. Not bad. Not bad at all, Ryan agreed. Emma tugged on Lena's sleeve. Miss Lena, are you going to stay for dinner? Lena glanced at Ryan. If your dad says it's okay, Ryan said. Then, yes, I'm staying. Emma cheered and ran inside to wash her hands. Lena started gathering the tools, and Ryan helped her, their hands brushing as they reached for the same screwdriver. Lena pulled back, laughing nervously. Sorry. Don't be. They looked at each other, and the air between them felt different, heavier, charged. Ryan cleared his throat. I'll, get dinner started. Right, yeah. They went inside, and Ryan tried to ignore the fact that his heart was racing. That night, after Emma was asleep and Lena had gone home, Ryan lay in bed staring at the ceiling and finally admitted the truth to himself. He was falling for her. Maybe he'd been falling for her since the first morning she knocked on his window with her bare feet and her broken door, and that terrified him more than anything else ever had. The following week, Emma had a school event, a little performance where the kids sang songs and showed off art projects they'd made. Ryan had taken the afternoon off work to go, and when he arrived, he was surprised to see Lena already there, sitting in the back row. "What are you doing here?" he asked, sliding into the seat beside her. "Emma invited me. She gave me a handwritten invitation and everything." "She did?" Lena pulled a crumpled piece of construction paper from her purse. It had Emma's name scrawled at the top and a drawing of 3 stick figures holding hands. Ryan's throat tightened. "That's us." "Yeah." They sat in silence, watching as the kids filed onto the stage. Emma spotted them and waved frantically. Lena waved back, smiling. The performance was chaotic and adorable. The kids forgot half the words to the songs, and one boy started crying halfway through, but Emma sang her heart out, grinning the whole time. Afterward, Emma ran up to them, still buzzing with excitement. "Did you see me? Did you see?" "You were amazing," Lena said. "The best," Ryan added, scooping her up. Emma hugged them both, and Ryan caught Lena's eye over his daughter's shoulder. She was smiling, but there was something else in her expression, something soft and hopeful and a little heartbreaking. Later that evening, after they'd gotten ice cream and taken Emma to the park, Ryan walked Lena back to her house. "Thanks for coming today," he said. "Of course, I wouldn't have missed it. Emma really loves having you around. I love being around her, around both of you." Ryan stopped walking. They were standing in Lena's driveway, the porch light casting long shadows across the grass. "Lena, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "What are we doing?" She blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, is this just... Are we just friends? Or is this something else?" Lena looked away, wrapping her arms around herself. "I don't know. What do you want it to be?" Ryan stepped closer. "I want it to be more. But I'm scared." "So am I. What if we mess this up? What if we try and it doesn't work and then Emma gets hurt? What if we don't try and we regret it for the rest of our lives?" Ryan looked at her, at the way the light caught in her hair, at the vulnerability in her eyes, and he made a decision. He kissed her. It was soft and tentative, and for a second, Lena didn't move. Then she kissed him back, her hands coming up to rest on his chest. When they pulled apart, they were both breathing hard. "I've wanted to do that for weeks," Ryan admitted. "Me too." "So what now?" Lena smiled. "Now we figure it out, together." Together. She kissed him again, and this time Ryan let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, this could actually work. Over the next few weeks, they fell into a new rhythm. Ryan and Lena didn't broadcast what was happening between them. They didn't sit Emma down and have some big conversation about it. They just let it unfold naturally. Lena came over for dinner almost every night. She started keeping a toothbrush at Ryan's place. He started keeping coffee at hers. Emma didn't ask questions. She just seemed happy, happier than Ryan had seen her in a long time. And Ryan was happy too, terrified, but happy. But of course, it couldn't last. The breaking point came on a Thursday evening. Ryan had just gotten home from work when his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. "Hello? Is this Ryan Hayes?" "Yeah, who's this?" "This is Michelle from Bright Futures Daycare. We need you to come pick up Emma immediately." Ryan's heart stopped. "What happened? Is she okay?" "She's fine, but there's been an incident. We'll explain when you get here." The line went dead. Ryan grabbed his keys and ran out the door. He texted Lena on the way. "Emergency. Emma's daycare. Meet me there." When he arrived, the director was waiting in the lobby with Emma sitting beside her, looking small and scared. Ryan dropped to his knees in front of her. "What happened? Are you hurt?" Emma shook her head, tears streaming down her face. The director cleared her throat. "Mr. Hayes, can we speak privately?" Ryan looked at Emma, then at the director. "Whatever you need to say, you can say in front of her." The director hesitated, then sighed. "There was a fight between Emma and another child. Emma bit him." Ryan stared at her. "She what?" "She bit another child. On the arm. Hard enough to break the skin." "Emma wouldn't do that." "I'm afraid she did. We have witnesses." Ryan looked down at Emma. "Is that true?" Emma nodded, sobbing harder. "Why?" "He said mean things about you." Ryan's heart cracked. "What kind of mean things?" "He said you're poor, and that we live in a gross house, and that I don't have a mommy because she didn't want me." Ryan closed his eyes. So you bit him. I told him to stop, but he wouldn't, so I bit him. The director crossed her arms. We have a zero-tolerance policy for violence, Mr. Hayes. I'm afraid Emma is suspended for the rest of the week. Suspended? She's 4. I understand this is difficult, but the policy applies to all students. Ryan wanted to argue, to fight, but he was too tired and Emma was crying, and all he wanted was to get her out of there. Fine. We'll go. He picked Emma up and carried her out to the truck. Lena was just pulling into the parking lot. She got out of her car and ran over. What happened? Emma's suspended. I'll explain later. Lena looked at Emma, then at Ryan. Do you want me to take her so you can go back to work? Ryan hadn't even thought about work. He was supposed to be there for another 4 hours. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking, I'm offering. Ryan looked at Emma, who was still crying, and made a decision. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. He transferred Emma to Lena's car, buckling her into the booster seat he kept in his truck. Emma clung to Lena immediately, and Lena held her, whispering something Ryan couldn't hear. I'll bring her home after dinner, Lena said. You don't have to? Ryan, go to work. I've got her. He nodded, watching as Lena drove away with his daughter, and felt the weight of everything pressing down on him again. When he got home that night, Emma was already asleep in her bed. Lena was sitting on the couch, waiting. What happened? Ryan asked. Lena patted the seat beside her. Sit. He sat. Emma told me everything, Lena said, about the boy, about what he said. She shouldn't have bitten him. No, but I get why she did. Ryan rubbed his face. I don't know what to do. She's never done anything like this before. She was defending you. She was defending herself. That doesn't make it okay. I know. But it makes it understandable. Ryan looked at her. What did you tell her? I told her that biting people is never okay, no matter how mean they are. But I also told her that standing up for the people you love is brave, and that sometimes being brave means using your words instead of your teeth. Despite everything, Ryan almost smiled. How'd she take that? She cried for a while. Then we made cookies. Then she fell asleep watching cartoons. Thank you for taking care of her. You don't have to thank me. Yeah, I do. Lena shifted closer to him. Ryan, can I say something? Sure. Emma didn't bite that kid just because he was mean. She bit him because she's scared. Ryan frowned. Scared of what? Of losing you. Of losing this. Lena gestured around the house. She's 4 years old, and she's already been abandoned by one parent. She lives in a house that almost got taken away from her, and now some kid is telling her that her life isn't good enough, that she's not good enough. She's scared, Ryan, and she doesn't know how to deal with that. Ryan felt like he'd been punched in the gut. I didn't realize. How could you? You're doing everything you can just to keep her fed and safe, but she's picking up on the stress, on the fear. Kids always do. Ryan leaned forward, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. I'm failing her. No, you're not. I am. I can't even afford daycare without scraping together every penny I have. I can't give her the life she deserves. Lena put her hand on his back. You're giving her love. You're giving her stability. You're showing up every single day. That's more than most kids get. It doesn't feel like enough. It is enough. You are enough. Ryan turned to look at her, and the certainty in her eyes made something inside him break open. I don't know how to do this, he said quietly. Any of it. Being a dad, being with you. I'm just making it up as I go. So am I. What if I mess it up? Then we'll figure it out, together. Ryan stared at her, at this woman who'd walked into his life and refused to leave even when he'd tried to push her away, and he realized something. He loved her. He was in love with her, and that terrified him more than anything. But it also felt inevitable, like this was always where they were headed from the moment she knocked on his window with bare feet and a broken door. Lena! She kissed him, soft and slow, and when she pulled back, she rested her forehead against his. You don't have to say it, she whispered. I know. Yeah? Yeah. Ryan kissed her again, and this time he let himself believe that maybe they could actually do this. Maybe they could build something real, something that lasted. But as he held her close, Emma asleep down the hall, and the eviction notice finally gone, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that the hardest part was still ahead. Because loving someone meant risking everything, and he'd already lost so much. The suspension ended, but the damage lingered. Emma went back to daycare quieter than before, less willing to talk about her day. The other parents looked at Ryan differently now, like he was the guy who couldn't control his kid. And the boy Emma had bitten? His mother made sure everyone knew about it, posting in the neighborhood Facebook group about violent children and negligent parenting. Ryan deleted the app after reading the comments. Lena wanted him to fight back, to defend Emma, to say something, but Ryan was too tired. He'd been fighting his whole life, and he didn't have it in him anymore. Instead, he focused on Emma. He took her to the park after daycare every day that week, just the two of them. They fed the ducks, played on the swings, talked about nothing in particular, and slowly, she started to come back to herself. One afternoon, as they sat on a bench eating ice cream, Emma looked up at him with chocolate smeared across her face. "Daddy?" "Yes, sweetheart? Do you think Miss Lena is going to be my new mommy?" Ryan froze, his ice cream cone halfway to his mouth. "What makes you ask that?" Emma shrugged. "She's here all the time now, and she tucks me in sometimes, and you kiss her." Ryan's face heated. "You saw that?" "I'm not blind, Daddy." He almost laughed. 4 years old and already too smart for her own good. "Would you want that? If Miss Lena was around more?" Emma considered this seriously. "I think so. She's nice, and she doesn't leave." "Not yet." "She won't, I can tell." Ryan wished he had that kind of certainty. "How can you tell?" "Because she looks at you the way you look at me, like you're her favorite person." Ryan's throat tightened. He pulled Emma close, kissing the top of her head. "When did you get so smart?" "I was born this way." This time he did laugh. "Yeah, you were." They finished their ice cream in comfortable silence, and when they got home, Lena's car was in her driveway. Emma waved at her through the window, and Lena waved back. That night, after Emma was asleep, Ryan walked across the yard and knocked on Lena's door. She answered in pajama pants and an old college sweatshirt, her hair down and slightly damp from a shower. "Hey," she said, surprised. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, can I come in?" "Of course." She stepped aside and Ryan followed her into the living room. It looked different than it had a few weeks ago, less sterile. There were books stacked on the coffee table now, a throw blanket draped over the couch, a pair of sneakers by the door. Signs of life. Signs of Lena actually living here instead of just existing. "You want some tea?" she asked. "I just made a pot." "Sure." She poured him a cup, and they sat on the couch together, close but not touching. "Emma asked me something today," Ryan said. "What?" "She asked if you were going to be her new mom." Lena went very still. "What did you say?" "I asked her if that's what she wanted." "And?" "She said yes, because you look at me the way I look at her." Lena set her tea down, her hands shaking slightly. "Ryan, I'm not asking you to be her mom. I know that's a huge thing, and we're still figuring this out. But I need to know what you want. From this. From us." Lena was quiet for a long time. Then she turned to face him, pulling one leg up onto the couch. "I want this to be real," she said. "I want to wake up every morning and not feel like I'm just waiting for the next bad thing to happen. I want to have dinner with you and Emma and not wonder if it's the last time. I want to stop being so scared of losing something that I never actually let myself have it." "So do I." "But I'm terrified, Ryan. Because what if we do this, really do this, and it doesn't work? What if we mess it up and Emma gets hurt? What if I'm not enough? What if—" Ryan kissed her, cutting off the spiral of fears. When he pulled back, he kept his forehead pressed to hers. "We're both terrified," he said. "But I think we're more scared of not trying than we are of failing." "You think?" "Yeah, I do." Lena closed her eyes. "I love her, Ryan. I love Emma. And I love you, and that scares the hell out of me." Ryan's heart stopped, then started again, faster. "Say that again." "I love you." "Again." She laughed through tears. "I love you, you idiot." Ryan kissed her again, deeper this time, and when they broke apart, they were both breathing hard. "I love you too," he said. "I've been trying not to, but I do. I love you so much it terrifies me." "Good. We can be terrified together." They held each other on that couch for a long time. And for the first time since this whole thing started, Ryan let himself believe that maybe they could actually do this. Maybe they could build something that lasted. The next few weeks were the best Ryan could remember in years. He and Lena stopped pretending they were just neighbors or friends. They were together, officially. And it felt right in a way nothing else ever had. Lena started staying over more often. She'd come for dinner and end up falling asleep on the couch with Emma curled against her. Ryan would carry Emma to bed and come back to find Lena still there, waiting for him. They talked about everything, about their pasts, their fears, their hopes, about what they wanted their lives to look like. Lena admitted she'd always wanted kids, but had convinced herself it wasn't going to happen. Ryan admitted he'd never thought he'd find someone who'd accept his life as it was, messy and complicated and poor. "I don't care about the money," Lena said one night. "I never did. I know, but I care. I hate that I can't give you the things you're used to." "Ryan, look around. What do you think I'm used to? A big empty house that feels like a mausoleum? Working 70 hours a week because I have nothing else to do? Eating dinner alone every night because I'm too scared to let anyone in? That's not... You've given me more in the last 2 months than anyone has in the last 2 years. You've given me a reason to come home, a reason to care. That's worth more than anything money can buy." Ryan pulled her close, and they stayed like that until the sun came up. But of course, nothing good lasted forever. The call came on a Tuesday morning. Ryan was at work when his phone rang. Unknown number again. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. "Hello? Mr. Hayes, this is Karen Mitchell. I'm a social worker with Child Protective Services." Ryan's blood went cold. "What?" "We received a report regarding your daughter, Emma Hayes. I need to schedule a home visit to follow up." "A report? What kind of report?" "I can't discuss the details over the phone, but I need to come by your residence this week. Are you available Thursday afternoon?" Ryan's mind was racing. "Yeah, I can be there. What is this about?" "I'll explain everything when I see you. Thursday at 2 o'clock? "Fine, yeah." "Thank you, Mr. Hayes. I'll see you then." The line went dead. Ryan stood in the middle of the warehouse, his phone still pressed to his ear, and felt the bottom drop out of his world. Someone had reported him to CPS. He called Lena immediately. "Hey, what's—" "Someone called CPS on me." Silence. Then, "What?" "A social worker just called. She's coming to the house on Thursday to do a home visit." "Do you know who reported you?" "No, she wouldn't say, but I have a pretty good idea. The mother of the kid Emma bit." It had to be. She'd been posting about him online, making him out to be some deadbeat dad who couldn't control his kid. Of course, she'd take it a step further. "Ryan, breathe. It's going to be okay." "What if it's not? What if they take her?" "They're not going to take her. You're a good father. Your house is clean. Emma is healthy and loved. They'll see that." "What if they don't?" "Then we'll fight it. Together." Ryan closed his eyes, forcing himself to breathe. Okay. Do you want me to be there when they come?" "I don't know if that's a good idea. What if they think..." "Think what? That you have a supportive partner who cares about your daughter? That's a good thing, Ryan." "You sure?" "Positive. I'll be there." Ryan exhaled slowly. "Thank you. Always." He hung up and leaned against the wall, his hands shaking. He'd been so careful. He'd done everything right. He worked his ass off, kept Emma fed and clothed and safe. And now someone was trying to take her away from him. The next 2 days were the longest of Ryan's life. He deep cleaned the house, scrubbing every surface until it gleamed. He organized Emma's room, threw out anything broken or worn. He made sure there was food in the fridge, fresh sheets on the beds, nothing that could be used against him. Lena came over Wednesday night to help. She didn't say much, just worked alongside him, folding laundry and wiping down baseboards and putting away dishes. Emma watched cartoons, oblivious to the storm brewing around her. When the house was spotless, Ryan and Lena sat on the couch, exhausted. "It looks good," Lena said. "Really good." "Yeah." "Ryan, it's going to be fine. You keep saying that." "Because it's true." He wanted to believe her. But the fear sat heavy in his chest, suffocating. Thursday came too fast. Ryan took the afternoon off work. Lena showed up at 1:30, dressed in nice jeans and a sweater that made her look put together and responsible. Emma was at daycare, which Ryan thought was probably for the best. Let the social worker see the house first, ask her questions, and then he'd bring Emma home. At exactly 2 o'clock, there was a knock on the door. Ryan opened it to find a woman in her 50s wearing slacks and a blazer, carrying a leather briefcase. She had kind eyes, but a no-nonsense expression. "Mr. Hayes?" "Yes?" "I'm Karen Mitchell. Thank you for meeting with me." "Of course. Come in." She stepped inside, and Ryan saw her eyes sweep the room, taking in everything. The clean floors, the organized shelves, the lack of clutter. He tried to see it through her eyes. Was it good enough? "This is Lena Hart," Ryan said, gesturing to Lena. "My girlfriend." Karen nodded at Lena. "Nice to meet you. Do you live here?" "No," Lena said. "I live next door, but I'm here often." "I see. And how long have you two been together?" "A few months," Ryan said. Karen made a note on her clipboard. "Mr. Hayes, I'm here because we received a report of potential neglect and unsafe living conditions for your daughter, Emma." Ryan's jaw tightened. "From who?" "I can't disclose that information, but the report alleged that Emma is left unsupervised frequently, that the home is unsafe, and that she recently exhibited violent behavior at her daycare." "That's bullshit, all of it." "Mr. Hayes, Emma is never unsupervised. She's either with me at daycare or with someone I trust. The house is clean and safe, and the incident at daycare, she bit another kid because he was bullying her. It was wrong, and we addressed it, but it doesn't mean she's being neglected." Karen held up a hand. "I understand you're upset, but I need to do my job. Can I see the rest of the house?" Ryan clenched his fists, then forced himself to relax. "Yeah, of course." He led her through each room, the kitchen, the bathroom, Emma's room, his own room. Karen inspected everything, the smoke detectors, the locks on the windows, the contents of the fridge, the cleanliness of the bathroom. She made notes constantly, her expression unreadable. When they returned to the living room, Karen sat down and gestured for Ryan and Lena to sit as well. "Mr. Hayes, I need to ask you some questions about your employment and financial situation." Ryan's stomach sank. "Okay. Are you currently employed?" "Yes, I work at a warehouse, full-time." "And your income?" "I make about $32,000 a year, plus side jobs." "Do you receive any government assistance?" "No." "Why not?" "Because I make too much to qualify." Karen raised an eyebrow. "But not enough to comfortably support a child." "I manage." "Do you?" Ryan felt his temper flare. "Yes, I do. Emma has never gone hungry. She has clothes, a bed, health care. She's happy." "What about child care? Who watches her when you're at work?" "She's in daycare during the day. A neighbor helps with pickups when I can't make it in time. And now Lena helps too." Karen looked at Lena. "And you're comfortable with that arrangement?" "Absolutely," Lena said. "Emma is a wonderful kid. I'm happy to help." "Do you have children of your own?" "No." "Any experience with childcare?" "Not professionally, but I care about Emma, and I care about Ryan." Karen made another note. Then she set her clipboard down and looked directly at Ryan. "Mr. Hayes, I'm going to be honest with you. Based on what I've seen today, I don't believe there's any immediate danger to Emma. The home is clean and safe. You're employed and providing for her, and she has a support system." Ryan felt the tension in his chest loosen slightly. "So we're good?" "Not quite. I still need to speak with Emma directly, and I'll need to follow up in 30 days to ensure the situation remains stable." "That's fine. Whatever you need. But I want to be clear. If anything changes, if there are any further reports, this case will be escalated. Do you understand?" "Yes." Karen stood, and Ryan and Lena stood with her. She handed Ryan a business card. "If you need resources, food assistance, childcare subsidies, anything, call me. There's no shame in asking for help." Ryan took the card, nodding. Karen left, and the moment the door closed, Ryan sank onto the couch, his head in his hands. Lena sat beside him, her hand on his back. "You okay?" "No, I'm pissed. Someone tried to take my daughter away from me because they don't like the way I live." "I know, but she said Emma's fine. You're fine. For now. But what if they come back? What if someone else calls? What if I can't prove I'm good enough?" "Ryan, I'm so tired, Lena.
I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired of proving myself to everyone. I just want to live my life and raise my kid without everyone judging me. Lena wrapped her arms around him, pulling him close. I know, and I'm sorry. This isn't fair.
Ryan leaned into her, letting himself take comfort in her presence. They sat like that for a long time, until Ryan's phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Cow. I have Emma, bringing her home now. Ryan stood. She's on her way. Do you want me to go? No, stay, please. Lena nodded, and a few minutes later, Mrs. Cow arrived with Emma. The little girl ran inside, her backpack bouncing against her shoulders. Daddy, guess what we did at school today?
Ryan scooped her up, holding her tight. What, sweetheart? We painted. I made a picture of a dinosaur. Want to see?
Absolutely. Emma wriggled out of his arms and ran to her backpack, pulling out a crumpled piece of construction paper covered in green and purple paint. Ryan admired it, praising every brushstroke, and Emma beamed. She didn't know. She had no idea how close they'd come to everything falling apart, and Ryan was determined to keep it that way. That night, after Emma was asleep, Ryan and Lena sat on the porch, wrapped in a blanket against the cool evening air. Do you think she'll come back? Lena asked. The social worker? In 30 days, yeah, and probably again after that. They'll keep checking until they're satisfied. Or until whoever reported you gives up. Maybe. Lena rested her head on his shoulder. I hate that this is happening to you. Me too. What can I do? Ryan thought about it. Just keep being here, that's all I need. I'm not going anywhere. I know. They sat in silence, watching the stars come out, and Ryan felt the weight of everything pressing down on him. The CPS case, the constant struggle to make ends meet, the fear that he was failing Emma no matter how hard he tried. But he also felt Lena beside him, warm and solid and real. And for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel completely alone. The next few weeks passed in a blur. Ryan kept working, kept scraping by, kept proving to anyone who'd listened that he was a good father. Karen, the social worker, called twice to check in. Each time, Ryan assured her everything was fine. Each time, she reminded him she'd be back for a follow-up visit. Lena became even more integrated into their lives. She started keeping groceries at Ryan's place, helping with laundry, picking Emma up from daycare when Ryan's shifts ran long. They didn't talk about what it meant, this merging of their lives. They just let it happen. But Ryan could feel the cracks forming, not in them, but in him. He was exhausted. Bone-deep, soul-crushing exhausted. He worked 10-hour shifts, came home to help with homework and make dinner and get Emma to bed, then collapsed on the couch, only to wake up a few hours later and do it all over again. And no matter how hard he worked, it was never enough. One night, Lena found him sitting on the kitchen floor at 2 a.m, surrounded by bills. Ryan? He looked up, his eyes red-rimmed. I can't do this anymore. Lena sat down beside him. Can't do what? Any of it. I'm drowning, Lena. I work constantly and I'm still barely keeping my head above water. The rent's due again next week and I don't have it. I owe the electric company $300 or they're shutting off the power. Emma needs new shoes again because she's growing like a weed and I can't. Let me help. No. Ryan, I said no. I already owe you $3,000. I'm not taking more. You don't owe me anything. It was a gift. You said it was a loan. I lied. To make you feel better about accepting it. Ryan stared at her. What? I never expected you to pay me back, Ryan. I just wanted to help. He stood, anger flaring hot in his chest. So what, you've just been lying to me this whole time? I didn't lie. You let me think I owed you money when I didn't. You let me feel guilty about it. I didn't want you to feel guilty. I wanted you to let me help without your pride getting in the way. My pride? You think this is about pride? Isn't it? Ryan's voice cracked. It's about not being a charity case, Lena. It's about being able to take care of my own kid without needing to be rescued. You're not a charity case, and no one's rescuing you. That's exactly what you're doing. Lena stood, her own frustration boiling over. Fine. You know what? You're right. I'm trying to help you. Because I love you, and I love Emma, and I can't stand watching you kill yourself trying to prove something to people who don't matter. They do matter. Why? Because some judgmental parents at daycare think you're not good enough? Because a social worker came to check on you once? Who cares what they think?
I care. Because if I don't prove I'm good enough, they'll take her away from me. They're not going to take her away. You don't know that. Yes, I do, because you're a good father, Ryan. The best. And anyone with eyes can see that. Then why doesn't it feel like enough? The question hung in the air between them, raw and painful.
Lena's expression softened. She stepped closer, her voice gentle.
Because you're human, and you're tired, and you've been doing this alone for so long that you don't know how to let anyone share the load. I don't want you to have to share it. I want to. That's what people who love each other do. They share the hard stuff. Ryan looked at her, at the tears shining in her eyes, and felt something inside him break. I'm so tired, Lena. I know. I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this. You don't have to do it alone anymore. Ryan pulled her into his arms, holding her tight, and let himself cry for the first time in years. Lena held him, whispering reassurances, and for a moment, the weight on his shoulders felt just a little bit lighter. When he finally pulled away, his face was wet and his chest ached, but he felt clearer somehow. I'm sorry, he said. For what? For pushing you away. Again. You didn't push me away, you just freaked out. It's okay. It's not okay. You've been nothing but good to me and Emma, and I keep throwing it back in your face. Ryan, stop. We're both figuring this out. We're both scared, but we're doing it together, okay? He nodded. Okay. And for the record, you don't owe me that money. I meant it when I said it was a gift. I'm still paying you back. Lena smiled. Fine, but there's no rush. Take your time. Thank you. You're welcome. They cleaned up the bills together, and Lena stayed the night, curled up beside him on the couch because they were both too tired to move to the bedroom. And when Ryan woke up the next morning with Lena still in his arms and Emma's laughter drifting in from the kitchen, he realized something. He wasn't alone anymore. He had Lena. He had Emma. He had a life that, while messy and complicated and far from perfect, was his. And maybe that was enough. 3 months later, Ryan got the call he'd been waiting for. Not from CPS, from a recruiter. He was at work, stacking pallets in the warehouse, when his phone rang. The number was local but unfamiliar. He almost sent it to voicemail, but something made him answer. This is Ryan. Mr. Hayes? My name is David Chen. I'm a hiring manager at Apex Construction. I got your resume from a mutual contact, and I'd like to talk to you about a position we have opening up. Ryan nearly dropped his phone. He'd sent that resume out 6 months ago, back when he'd been desperately trying to find something that paid better than the warehouse. He'd forgotten all about it. I'm listening, he said, stepping away from the noise of the forklift. We're looking for a site supervisor, someone with hands-on experience who can manage a crew and keep projects on schedule. The pay is $65,000 a year, plus benefits and overtime. I saw on your resume you worked construction for several years before transitioning to warehouse work. Any reason for the change? Ryan hesitated. He could lie. Make up some story about wanting new challenges or exploring different opportunities. But he was tired of pretending. I needed steadier hours, he said. I have a daughter. Construction was too unpredictable. There was a pause, then, I get that. I've got 2 kids myself. Here's the thing. This position has more stable hours than most construction jobs. 7 to 4, Monday through Friday. Some weekend work during busy seasons, but we give notice in advance. Would that work for you? Ryan's heart was pounding. Yeah, that would work. Great. Can you come in for an interview, say Friday at 10? Friday at 10. I'll be there. He hung up and stood there in the middle of the warehouse, staring at his phone. $65,000 a year. Benefits. Steady hours. It was more than he'd ever hoped for. That night he told Lena over dinner. Emma was drawing at the table, oblivious to the conversation happening over her head. That's amazing, Lena said, her eyes bright. When's the interview? Friday. Are you nervous? Terrified. You're going to be great. You don't know that. I do. You're good at what you do, Ryan, and you're reliable and hardworking. They'd be lucky to have you. Ryan wanted to believe her, but the part of him that had been beaten down by years of rejection and near misses whispered that it wouldn't work out, that something would go wrong, that he didn't deserve this. Lena reached across the table and took his hand. Stop. Stop what?
Spiraling. I can see it happening. You're already convincing yourself you won't get it. I'm just being realistic. No, you're being scared. There's a difference. Ryan looked down at their joined hands. What if I blow it? Then you blow it, and we figure out the next step, but you're not going to blow it. You sound awfully sure. That's because I am. Emma looked up from her drawing. Daddy, what's blow it mean? It means mess up, sweetheart. Oh, you won't mess up. You're the best. Ryan's chest tightened. Thanks, kiddo. Emma went back to her drawing, and Ryan met Lena's eyes across the table. She smiled, and he felt some of the fear loosen its grip. Friday came faster than he expected. Ryan borrowed a dress shirt from Lena's ex-boyfriend's closet. She'd kept a few things when he moved out, and they fit Ryan well enough. He shaved, combed his hair, and stared at himself in the mirror. He looked like someone who had his life together. He just hoped the illusion would hold. Lena drove him to the interview because his truck had been making a weird rattling sound and he didn't trust it not to break down on the way. Emma was at daycare, blissfully unaware of how much was riding on the next hour. You look good, Lena said as they pulled into the parking lot. I look like I'm playing dress up. You look like someone they'd be crazy not to hire. Ryan leaned over and kissed her. Thanks for driving me. Anytime. Now go get that job. He got out of the car and walked into the building, his heart hammering. The interview lasted 45 minutes. David Chen was younger than Ryan expected, maybe late 30s, with an easy smile and a firm handshake. He asked about Ryan's experience, his management style, how he handled conflict on a job site. Ryan answered honestly. He didn't oversell himself or make promises he couldn't keep. He just told the truth, that he was good at his job, that he cared about doing things right, and that he needed this opportunity. At the end, David stood and extended his hand. I'll be honest with you, Ryan. I have 2 other candidates to interview. But you're my top choice right now. I'll call you by Monday with a decision. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Ryan walked out of that building and got back in the car, and Lena looked at him expectantly. Well? He said I'm his top choice, but he has to interview other people first. So you got it. I don't know that. Ryan, let's just wait and see, okay? Lena nodded, and they drove home in silence. Ryan spent the weekend in a state of suspended anxiety, checking his phone every 5 minutes, even though he knew David had said Monday. Monday came. No call. Tuesday. Still nothing. By Wednesday, Ryan had convinced himself he hadn't gotten it, that David had found someone better, someone with a college degree or more recent construction experience or fewer complications in their life. He was at work, halfway through his shift, when his phone finally rang. Ryan Hayes. Ryan, it's David Chen. How are you? Good. You? Great. Listen, I wanted to call and let you know we'd like to offer you the position. Ryan stopped walking. Seriously? David laughed. Seriously. I talked to your references and they all had glowing things to say. Plus, I liked you. You were straight with me, and I respect that. So what do you say? You want the job? Yes, absolutely. When do I start? 2 weeks. That'll give you time to give notice at your current job. I'll email you the offer letter today. Thank you. I won't let you down. I know you won't. Welcome to the team, Ryan. He hung up, and Ryan stood there in the middle of the warehouse, his hands shaking. He'd done it. He'd actually done it. He called Lena immediately. I got it. She screamed, literally screamed, loud enough that Ryan had to pull the phone away from his ear. Oh my God, Ryan, I knew it. I knew you would. $65,000 a year, Lena, plus benefits. We're celebrating tonight. I'm making reservations somewhere nice. You don't have to. I want to. This is huge. You did this. Ryan felt tears prick his eyes, and he blinked them back. Yeah, I guess I did. That night, they went to a small Italian restaurant on the other side of town. Emma wore her favorite dress, the one with the sparkles, and Lena wore something that made Ryan forget how to form coherent sentences. They ordered too much food and let Emma have dessert before dinner, and toasted with sparkling cider because Emma insisted she wanted to participate. To Daddy, Emma said, raising her plastic cup. To Daddy, Lena echoed, smiling. Ryan clinked his glass against theirs, and for the first time in years, he felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur. Ryan gave his notice at the warehouse, trained his replacement, and spent his last day there feeling lighter than he had in months. His new job started on a Monday, and the night before he barely slept. Lena stayed over, curled up beside him, her fingers tracing patterns on his chest.
"You nervous?" she asked. "Yeah. You're going to be great." "You keep saying that." "Because it's true." Ryan turned to look at her. "What if I mess this up? What if I'm not good enough?" "Then you'll figure it out." "But you're not going to mess it up, Ryan. You're one of the hardest working people I know, and you care. That counts for a lot." "I hope you're right." "I am. Trust me." He kissed her, soft and slow, and when he pulled back, he rested his forehead against hers. "I love you," he said. "I love you too." The first day at the new job was overwhelming. There was so much to learn, new systems, new people, new expectations. But Ryan threw himself into it, determined to prove he deserved to be there. And slowly, it started to click. By the end of the first month, he'd earned the respect of his crew. By the end of the second, he'd finished his first project ahead of schedule and under budget. David called him into his office and told him he'd made the right choice hiring him. Ryan went home that night and told Lena, and she cried happy tears and told him she'd never doubted him for a second. Life started to stabilize in ways Ryan had never thought possible. He could pay his bills on time. He could buy Emma new shoes without having to choose between that and groceries. He could take her to the zoo on weekends and actually enjoy it instead of worrying about how much it cost. And Lena was there for all of it. She'd become part of their lives in a way that felt inevitable. She picked Emma up from daycare, helped with homework, tucked her in at night. She kept a toothbrush at Ryan's place, and half her closet had migrated to his bedroom. One night, about 4 months into the new job, Ryan was putting Emma to bed when she looked up at him with those big, serious eyes. "Daddy?" "Yeah, sweetheart? Is Miss Lena going to live with us?" Ryan sat down on the edge of her bed. "Would you want that?" "Yeah, I like it when she's here. It feels like we're a real family." Ryan's throat tightened. "We are a real family, Emma. You and me. We've always been a family." "I know, but with Miss Lena, it's different. It's like more." Ryan smoothed her hair back from her forehead. "Yeah, it is more." "So can she stay?" "I'll talk to her, okay?" "Okay. I love you, Daddy." "I love you too, kiddo." He kissed her forehead and left the room, his mind spinning. Lena was waiting on the couch, her laptop open, working on something for her job. She looked up when he came in. "She asleep?" "Almost." Ryan sat down beside her. "She asked me something." "What?" "If you were going to live with us." Lena's fingers stilled on the keyboard. "What did you say?" "I said I'd talk to you." She closed the laptop and set it aside. "Do you want me to?" Ryan looked at her, at this woman who'd walked into his life and refused to leave even when he'd tried to push her away, who'd loved his daughter like she was her own, who'd stood by him through evictions and CPS visits and breakdowns on the kitchen floor. "Yeah," he said. "I do." Lena smiled, slow and bright. "Then I will." "Just like that?" "Just like that." "You don't want to think about it?" "Ryan, I've been thinking about it for months. I want this. I want you. I want Emma. I want to wake up in your messy house and trip over dinosaur toys and make terrible coffee in that ancient coffee maker you refuse to replace." Ryan laughed. "It still works." "Barely." He pulled her close, kissing her deeply. When they broke apart, they were both smiling. "So we're doing this," he said. "We're doing this. You're sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." Lena moved in 2 weeks later. It wasn't a big production. She just started bringing boxes over, one at a time, until most of her things were at Ryan's place and her house next door sat mostly empty. They didn't rush anything. They took their time, figuring out how to share space and routines and responsibilities. It wasn't always smooth. They argued about stupid things like where to put the dishes and whose turn it was to take out the trash. But they worked through it, and slowly they found their rhythm. Emma was thrilled. She loved having Lena there all the time, loved the bedtime stories and the Saturday morning pancakes and the way Lena braided her hair before school. One morning, about 3 months after Lena moved in, Ryan woke up to find Emma and Lena in the kitchen, making breakfast together. Emma was standing on a chair, carefully pouring pancake batter onto the griddle while Lena supervised. "No, like this," Lena was saying. "Make a circle." I am making a circle. That's a blob, not a circle. It's a dinosaur-shaped circle. Lena laughed, and Ryan stood in the doorway, watching them, and felt his chest swell with something he couldn't quite name. This was his life now. This was his family. And it was messy and imperfect and sometimes exhausting, but it was his. That afternoon, he got a call from Karen, the social worker. His stomach dropped when he saw her name on the screen, but he answered anyway. Mr. Hayes, this is Karen Mitchell. How are you? Good. You? I'm well. I wanted to follow up with you. It's been 6 months since my last visit, and I wanted to let you know that we're closing your case. Ryan's knees went weak. You're closing it? Yes. You've demonstrated that you're providing a safe, stable environment for Emma. There have been no further reports, and based on everything I've observed, I have no concerns. You're doing a great job. Ryan had to sit down. Thank you. You're welcome. And Mr. Hayes? For what it's worth, I think Emma is very lucky to have you. He hung up and sat there on the couch, staring at the phone, and felt something inside him finally let go. It was over. The case was closed. He'd proven it. He'd proven he was good enough. When Lena came home from running errands, Ryan told her the news, and she hugged him so tight he could barely breathe. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. I couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have, but I'm glad you didn't have to. That night, after Emma was asleep, Ryan and Lena sat on the porch together, wrapped in a blanket, watching the stars. Can I ask you something? Ryan said. Always. Do you ever regret it, coming over that first morning, knocking on my window? Lena was quiet for a moment, then she smiled. No, not even a little. Even with all the chaos, the eviction, the CPS case, all of it? Especially because of all that. Because it means we fought for this. We didn't just stumble into something easy. We built it, together. Ryan kissed her, soft and slow. I love you. I love you too. They sat there in comfortable silence, and Ryan thought about how far they'd come, about the broken door that had brought them together and everything that had happened since. And he realized something. They'd both been broken when they met. Shattered, really. Ryan by years of struggling alone, Lena by a betrayal that had left her hollow, but somehow, in finding each other, they'd started to heal. It wasn't a fairy tale. There was no magic fix, no moment where everything suddenly became perfect. It was messy and hard and sometimes painful, but it was real, and that was enough. 6 months later, Ryan came home from work to find Lena and Emma in the backyard, painting the fence. Emma was covered in white paint, and Lena wasn't much better, but they were both laughing. What are you two doing? Ryan asked. Emma ran over to him. We're making the fence pretty. Miss Lena said it needed a makeover. Ryan looked at Lena, who shrugged. It was looking a little sad. So you decided to paint it? Yep. Ryan shook his head, smiling. You two are ridiculous. You love us, Lena said. Yeah, I do. He grabbed a paintbrush and joined them, and they spent the rest of the afternoon painting the fence together. It was uneven and sloppy and definitely not professional quality, but it was theirs. When they finished, they stood back and admired their work. Emma pointed at one section where the paint was particularly thick. That's my part, she said proudly. It's beautiful, Lena said. Emma looked up at Ryan. Do you like it, Daddy? Ryan pulled her into a hug. I love it, sweetheart. That night, after Emma was asleep, Ryan found Lena standing in the backyard looking at the fence. What are you thinking about? He asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. The door. Ryan frowned. What door? Your door. The first time I knocked on your window, when I told you my front door was stuck. Yeah, what about it? Lena turned to face him, a small smile on her lips. It was never actually stuck. Ryan stared at her. What? The door. It was fine. I lied. You lied? Yeah. Why would you lie about something like that? Lena looked down, suddenly shy. Because I'd been watching you for weeks, you and Emma, and I could see how hard you were working, how much you loved her. And I was so lonely, Ryan. I was so tired of being alone, and I wanted a reason to talk to you, so I made one up. Ryan didn't know what to say. He just stood there processing. I know it's weird, Lena said quickly, and maybe a little creepy, but I didn't know how else to... Ryan kissed her, cutting off her rambling. When he pulled back, he was smiling. You staged a broken door just to meet me? Yeah? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I know. And also kind of sweet. Lena laughed, relief flooding her face. So you're not mad? Mad? No. Surprised? Yeah, but not mad. They stood there in the backyard holding each other, and Ryan thought about that first morning, about how terrified he'd been, how convinced he was that Lena would see his life and run the other way. Instead, she'd stayed. She'd knocked on his window with a made-up problem and changed everything. You know what the funny thing is? Ryan said. What? The door was never broken, but we were. Lena looked up at him, her eyes shining. Yeah, we were. And now? She smiled. Now we're not. Ryan kissed her again, and in that moment, standing in the backyard of the house he'd almost lost, with the woman he'd almost pushed away, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not the desperate, clawing kind that came from needing things to work out, but the quiet, steady kind that came from knowing they already had. Because love wasn't about being perfect. It wasn't about having all the answers or never making mistakes. It was about showing up, day after day. Even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. It was about knocking on someone's window at dawn and asking for help, even when you didn't really need it. It was about letting someone in, even when every instinct told you to keep them out. It was about building something real, one messy, imperfect day at a time. And as Ryan stood there with Lena in his arms and Emma asleep inside in a future that finally felt possible, he realized something. The door had never been broken, but they had been. And somehow in finding each other, they'd learned how to heal. Not perfectly, not easily, but together. And that made all the difference. Years later, when Emma was older and asked about how Ryan and Lena met, they'd tell her the story of the broken door. They'd laugh about Lena's elaborate lie and Ryan's confusion, and the series of small moments that had led them here. And Emma would roll her eyes and say, "That's so weird," but she'd be smiling, because she'd grown up watching them. Watching them fight and make up and build a life together that was messy and real and full of love. And she'd know that sometimes the best things in life started with something broken, a door, a heart, a person. But broken things could be fixed, and sometimes they came back stronger than before. Ryan and Lena proved that every single day.